Hey gang, how's it? I trust this finds you well. Today we're just gonna quickly look at Julius Malema's run with the law. On the 9th of February 2023, Julius Malema, together with his cronies, when the president was giving SONA, sought to climb up the podium to the stage where the president was at. Obviously, that is a security risk to the president. So they were brought to stop. And now Parliament has set up a committee to hear, or rather to hold a disciplinary inquiry into their conduct. Julius Malema refused to appear before the committee, stating the following reasons. Let's hear him out.
Who brought this white man here to come and persecute us? Because you know that every white man will go after the blood of the EFF. That's what he's there for. No white man can persecute me. I'm not going to allow that. And no white man will persecute the EFF. And we're not going to accept to appear before this white man and before this kangaroo court. You can go and be together in your own arrangement there. We are not going to participate in this kangaroo court because its outcome has been determined even before by yourself and the DA. That's why you brought a DA lawyer here to come and speak to us. He's not a man of integrity. He has got no integrity to can persecute us and will never be persecuted by a white man. We refuse to appear before a white man. We refuse to appear before a kangaroo court. Do what you want to do. Some of you won't come back to this parliament, especially you, chairperson, and many of you. You are going to watch parliament from home. Whatever decision you take will still be in that parliament, whether that white man you called likes it or not, we will be in parliament. As a result, we recuse our legal representatives. They must now leave that place, and we're also leaving this nonsense of a kangaroo court. Thank you.
If a person has a right to attend, they choose not to exercise that right, they take the consequences, whatever they may be, of exercising that choice. So now I turn to the charges, to Honourable Member Malema. Preamble to the charges. On 9 February 2023, there was a joint sitting of Parliament where the business of the day was the State of the Nation address, sonar by the President of the Republic of South Africa. You deliberately created and took part in a serious disturbance, disorder, and disruption in the House, and acted in a way which was seriously detrimental to the dignity, decorum, and orderly procedure of the House by one, acting with Mr. Shivambu, Mr. Pambo, Mr. Dlamini, Dr. Ndlozi, and Mr. Tambo. You ascended onto the stage without the authority to do so, and in a threatening manner approached the President of the Republic of South Africa and the presiding officers, and had to be physically removed by security services of the Republic of South Africa, resulting in a suspension of proceedings.
Okay, so I think we've had enough. Now we know what is the charge. We know what they have done because we've just observed it now on the video that was rehashed here, or rather replayed. Now, it is very important for us then to systematically analyze this. So let's start with the comments of Julius Malema by simply comparing them to the Constitution of the Republic, which is the supreme law. Let's go to the Constitution. So paragraph 2 of the Constitution deals with the supremacy of the Constitution. This Constitution is a supreme law of the Republic. Law or conduct inconsistent with it is invalid, and the obligations imposed by it must be fulfilled. Now, there's few more paragraphs that I would like us to look at. Let's look at paragraph 9. I will look at subparagraph 4, subparagraph 5, subparagraph 3 in paragraph 9. Here it is. We'll start with paragraph 3. The state may not unfairly discriminate directly or indirectly against anyone on one or more grounds, including race, gender, sex, pregnancy, marital status, ethnic or social origin, color, sexual orientation, age, disability, religion, conscience, belief, culture, language, and birth. No person may unfairly discriminate directly or indirectly against anyone on one or more grounds in terms of subsection 3. National legislation must be enacted to prevent or prohibit unfair discrimination. Discrimination on one or more grounds listed in subsection 3 is unfair unless it is established that the discrimination is fair. Let's look at paragraph 10. Everyone has an inherent dignity and the right to have their dignity respected and protected. Now, listening then to what Julius Malema is saying, he's not going to appear before this white man. That's the first point. The second point is that he calls this a kangaroo court. The third point is that he refers to the chairperson, Advocate Katz, as a person who inherently is unethical, because he says this man has no integrity to persecute me or the EFF. Now, of course, that's a paradox, because you do not require integrity to persecute anybody. As a matter of fact, people who persecute others lacks integrity, because it's an unethical conduct to connive to persecute someone at work. Parliament is work for them. Now, having said that, when he says Advocate Katz has no integrity to can persecute him, he uses, I'm quoting him verbatim. The problem with that is Advocate Katz's inherent right to dignity is now being what? Impugned. What evidence does he have that Advocate Katz lacks integrity? Where was this established? Can you see that? So one, he discriminates against him. He says his reasons for not wanting to appear before him is that he is white. So we have established in paragraph 9, subparagraph 4 and 5, that you cannot discriminate against anybody based on their skin color or race. You cannot discriminate. And if you do discriminate, such a discrimination according to paragraph 9, subparagraph 5 is unfair unless you establish it that it is fair. Now, of course, there's no way he's going to be able to establish that to be fair, because it's it's not automatic, but it's easy to establish that when a person is discriminating against you because of your skin color, that's an unfair discrimination in our constitution. The second point, as I have said, he calls this a kangaroo court. Firstly, this is not a court. It's a parliamentary committee, similar to the committees that he himself sits on as Malema. His contention is that this is a member of the DA, but that is an invalid contestation if you consider that why does Malema sit in parliament? It's called proportional representation based on the votes that EFF received. Remember, though, that EFF nationally received much less votes compared to the DA. The DA is the official opposition party. Therefore, the DA will be involved in much more committees than the EFF is willing to accept. And so is the African National Congress. They got much more votes than both the DA and the EFF. So the ANC, therefore, is going to have more members on the committees than both the DA and the EFF. Now that we have established that such a committee will be composed of members of the DA and the ANC and the other political parties according to the proportional representation, more so that they are dealing with a discipline or a deviation from the prescription of parliamentary rules concerning EFF's behavior. Therefore, EFF cannot be party of the committee because they will be unobjective to assess their own disciplinary behavior. They can't discipline themselves. So, notwithstanding, I still want to show you what a kangaroo court definition is. Now that we have established, one, that's not a court, it's a parliamentary committee. There is no court in parliament. There are different committees. These committees have responsibilities that they discharge. Others, like the Section 94 committee, were established for a specific purpose to deal with Mkwebane, that is the public protector. This one was established for a specific purpose to deal with the discipline or lack thereof of the EFF as they conducted themselves when the president appeared for SONA to deliver his SONA. Now, it is also very important to understand that the president, whether you like him or you don't, is a number one person in the country, number one resident or citizen. He therefore has to be protected. You can't therefore have people, when the president is delivering his speech, ascending to the podium where he is at when they have not been given the authority to do so, particularly when you have now a mob rushing the way you saw them rushing in this video. That is completely unacceptable, but this is a charge against them. Then let's go to what is a kangaroo court. So here's the definition of a kangaroo court. It's an unofficial court held by a group of people. So right from the gate, you can see that it's an unofficial court. The parliamentary committee is not an unofficial court. It's an official committee, not a court, set up to achieve a specific purpose, right? It says here it's an unofficial court held by a group of people in order to try someone regarded, especially without good evidence, as guilty of crime or misdemeanor. Then they give an example of a sentence. They conducted a kangaroo court there and then. Now, as you can see here, when he says this is a kangaroo court, that doesn't follow, because there was no court that was held. It was a parliamentary committee, meaning he is misleading. He is gaslighting the nation when he calls a parliamentary committee, which he sits on different committees himself. When he calls that committee a kangaroo court, he's misleading and gaslighting the nation. When he says, I'm not going to appear before this chairperson because a decision has already been predetermined, once again, he is in the realm of speculation, and he is falsely trying to impugn other people's integrity by making claims which he has not substantiated as he made them. So once again, those claims would say they are what? False. And as we have seen in the video, he is guilty as charged. Because what are the charges? The charges is that they disturbed the order of the proceedings. They interrupted the proceedings. They charged to the stage without authorization. So all of those charges, as we saw Advocate Katz reading, were established on fact, on their behavior, and you can see that on the video. Can you see that? So what have we then established in this video? One, Julius has discriminated against Mr. Katz based on his race or skin color, which is an offense and a violation of our constitution. It's an unfair discrimination. Julius has falsely called a parliamentary committee a kangaroo court. They are not the same thing. Now that's propaganda, right? Once he pushes his propaganda or rhetoric, when he repeats these lies, he starts believing them. A committee of parliament does not become a kangaroo court because Julius Malema wants it to be called a kangaroo court. It is very, very important for people to understand we don't live in an alternative reality. We don't live in a post-truth world. We have to be careful in assessing the words that proceeds out of the mouth of our politicians. Otherwise, you will certainly live in an alternative reality. Julius Malema certainly lives in an alternate reality. I won't talk about other things because they are irrelevant here. What is relevant is he just called a parliamentary committee a kangaroo court. That is a false claim by himself. And then another false claim by himself is that Mr. Advocate Katz, together with whomever, have already connived and predetermined what must happen, right? And he claims that there's no basis for them to be charging him. Well, we've seen the basis. They are there in black and white in the video, right? There is basis. They misbehave themselves. And Parliament is our house. We elected them to be there for the purposes of delivering and accountability. And they were trying to disturb that very accountability. And then I've addressed then the issue of the kangaroo court. I've addressed the issue of race, as a race hustler that he is. And we do need to condemn this behavior with the strongest possible terms. We shouldn't accept this behavior from the EFF or anybody else. Remember, if we fought against apartheid because it segregated against black people because of their skin color, We should fight against race hustlers like Julius Malema who are seeking to divide our nation based on the color lines. It's no different. He's doing exactly the same thing. So he's seeking to practice apartheid in South Africa. We shouldn't allow it. We should condemn it with the strongest possible terms. That's my opinion, guys, concerning that behavior. It's completely unacceptable. It's completely unprofessional. And I think he's now believing his own lies. He sees things that are not there. People have connived. He had said this. Zondo had connived with the president together with the magistrate in East London to come to a predetermined conclusion regarding his gun-toting case that appeared in the magistrate court in East London. Zondo was not even in the country when he was being accused of this. So he does have this tendency of making assertions publicly to find people guilty in the public opinion's court, but he never wants the same to be done to him. That, by the way, is a definition of a hypocrite. The boy is not only a liar, a compulsive liar, but he's a hypocrite. Okay, guys, that's it. I think that he's guilty as charged of the charges which Advocate Katz and his committee found him to be guilty of, or rather had charged him of. I'm just not happy with the delivery of the sentence, because I thought that giving 10 days suspension was completely unequal to the offense, because there must be an offense, even if it's not a jail sentence. I would have preferred a jail sentence of at least 6 months for all the mentioned EFF members. But even if it's not a jail sentence, you must charge them a penalty, so that they must feel the pinch, so that they are not more inclined to repeat that behavior. We want Parliament to function. We want the country to be functioning. We love our country. We don't elect anybody to go and black card in Parliament. People who sit in Parliament should behave like parliamentarians, as men, as honorable men and women as they call each other, and they should come up with ideas how they can improve the country, the economy, the infrastructure, the roads, how they can reduce violence against women and children, how can they reduce rape, how can they reduce the murder rate, and so on and so forth. Okay, that's my rant on that one. He was completely out of order. Ciao, ciao. See you in the next video. Bye for now.